Hey guys, it's Pastor Jake, and I want to welcome you to tonight's rStudents Online.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to another week of rStudents Online. I just want to remind you that it's not too late to invite some of your friends to join us here on YouTube. It's super easy, super quick. All you got to do is text them, tell them to get on here, and have them fill out the digital connection card that's linked in the description of this video too. And that way, if they put your name down as the person that invited them, then you and your friend are both going to be entered into a chance to win a free Amazon gift card. So while you're taking some time to do that, let's go to our Say Yes challenge. For this week's Say Yes challenge, you all have challenged me to guess the accent. And since I don't have one person who's really good at a whole lot of different accents, or a whole lot of people that have different accents from different parts of the country, or from different countries in general, I have decided to find a video that has different people talking in accents, and I am going to try and guess what country they are from. Also, before we get started, I want to remind you that if you have any challenges for our Say Yes challenges for myself or any other leaders, make sure that you fill out the form in the link to the description of this video so that we can continue to have these Say Yes challenges every week. But without further ado, let's get started.
Well, the Mallard says we had to go anyway. We hadn't much choice in the matter, but sure.
There's a cool journey.
There's a couple places
that
that this could be from,
but and these new shocks that I got as well. You see, I had to turn the hill just up to me. What do we say? Well, the Mallard says we had
I want to say
anyway. We hadn't
Irish.
much choice in the matter, but sure.
There's a cool journey.
I'm not sure.
Oh God, you wouldn't belong getting frostbite.
Frostbite?
And these new shocks that I got as well. You see,
I'm gonna stick
I
with
had to
Irish.
turn the hill just up to me. What do we say?
Hey, that's 1 for 1. All right, let's go.
I only speak English in the school sometimes, and this is definitely not enough. And I want to speak English fluently and improve my English skills as far as I can. And I only speak English in the school sometimes, and this is
I want to say
definitely
German.
not
I
enough.
had a few German exchange students
And
in
I
my
want to
class in
speak
high
English
school.
fluently and
It's
improve my
kinda similar,
English
so I'm gonna go German.
skills as far as I can. And
Hey.
Awesome. Okay, that's 2 for 2. Where are you guys at? Why don't you let me know how you guys are doing in the comments below too.
The anterior cerebral artery.
Oh, Australian.
That's gotta be Australian.
Fairly certain it's the anterior cerebral artery.
What?
The anterior cerebral artery.
I'm not understanding a word.
There it is.
Australian accent. I knew it. That
That's
one
kind of
was
the
easy.
reaction that I had from a lot of people, and I started putting people on the spot. When people said that to me, I then looked at them and go,
It's got to be an English
"Do
accent.
you actually like it? Like, just tell me. I don't care if you don't, but do you actually
Yeah.
like it?"
Gotta be
That's
English,
kind of
that's
the
it.
reaction that I had from a lot of
What do you
people,
guys think
and
of
I
this?
started
You agree
putting
with
people
me?
on the spot. When people said that to me, I then looked at them and go, "Wait, but honestly, do you actually like it? Like, just tell me. I don't care if you don't, but do you actually like it?" And then there's-
British, English, same difference.
Whatever.
It's so interesting to know what other people do in their country, like in their everyday life. I wasn't.
This one's hard.
Surfing the internet, girl. It's so.
What do you guys think it
interesting
is?
To know what other people do in their country, like in their everyday life. I
French?
wasn't,
I'm gonna go French,
That,
French.
surfing the internet, girl.
Oh,
Russian. Come on. There was no way that was Russian. Oh, well, whatever. All right, well, I guess 4 for 5 is not bad. Why don't you guys let me know how you guys did in the comments? Did you get all 5? Did you beat me? Did you get just 1 or 2? Let me know how you guys did in the comments.
Hey guys, we're about to transition into a time of worship. And again, I know that it's probably a little weird or different to worship in an environment like this where you're probably sitting on your couch or laying on your bed, or maybe your parents are standing right next to you, or maybe they're not, or it's just weird to worship to a screen and a video. I get it. But worship is so important. That's where the majority of our breakthroughs happen. In fact, God's word says that God dwells within the praises of his people. So when you're worshiping, you're actively inviting God to come right where you are. And even more so, Psalm says that words have power. So when you sing songs, it's so important to listen to the lyrics and see what they're actually saying, because what you are declaring into the atmosphere, what you're saying about God and what you're saying about the situations in your life matter, because words have power. So Papa, I thank you so much for the honor that it is to worship you. God, I ask that this isn't just another worship video that we see, but I ask that you allow us to be able to have a life-changing encounter with you today through worship. In your precious name, amen. Let's worship together.
You lead us to victory every time. It's just what you do, it's just who you are. You lead us to victory every time. It's just what you do and who you are. Yeah. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. And you crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. I've tried so hard to see it. Took me so long to believe it, that you choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve it. You take the broken things and raise them to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you won. I am who you say I am. You in victory. We're victors. He's giving it to us. Oh,
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited for tonight because we are continuing with our new series called Big Picture. We've been talking a lot about how in life sometimes we miss the bigger picture. We see things only from our own perspective, which means we only see one part of the story. And that causes us to miss the rest of everything that's going on and not see what might actually be happening. We miss the bigger picture. Now, before we jump in too much today, I have a very important question I want to ask you. How often do you do the right thing? Maybe don't type in your answers or anything like that. I don't want to call anybody out, but just think about it for a second. How often do you know the right thing to do as well? And even more important, when you know the right thing to do, how often do you actually follow through and do it? I think many of us would admit that there's at least a few decisions in our lives that we can look back on and say, yeah, I knew what I was supposed to do here and I just didn't do it. Because I know I can definitely do that as well. I remember this one time when I was younger. I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest of 5. But my oldest brother's name was Joel, and my middle brother's name was Judah. And me and Joel shared a lot of the same tastes. We both enjoyed Cadbury cream eggs. They were our favorite candies. They're still my favorite candy. So, when Easter rolls around, that's where I'm going to be, is in the Cadbury cream egg aisle. They are incredible. But my oldest brother was part of the Sea Cadets. And one weekend, he went on a trip with them and wasn't home for the whole weekend. And I knew while he was gone, my oldest brother, Joel, had this drawer in his room. It was a drawer that was now unguarded, full of candy. And I knew that he had a stash of Cadbury cream eggs that he had saved from Easter. And now they were there and unguarded. So I snuck down into his room, grabbed one egg, because he wouldn't notice one egg missing, right? And took that back up to my room, unwrapped it, ate it, made sure nobody saw it, and threw it away, the wrapper away in the garbage can. But then my brother came back, and he knew that his younger siblings were a little mischievous. So the very first thing that he did was go downstairs and check his candy stash. And he actually counted how many eggs he had. And when he got back, when he counted, there was one Cadbury cream egg missing because I had taken it. So my oldest brother starts looking around the house and questioning people who took my Cadbury cream egg. And he then goes into mine and my middle brother's room, which me and Judah shared, and saw that there was a wrapper still in the garbage. The only thing is, the garbage can was on Judah's side of the room. So, Judah, if you're watching this, I apologize. I don't think I've ever told you or Joel this, so maybe you'll find it and learn the truth. But Joel blamed Judah for taking the egg because the trash was on his side of the room. And so I actually see my oldest brother, Joel, teaching Judah a lesson in probably not the most Christ-like way. And all I could think of was, I'm the one who stole the egg. I'm the one that's supposed to be getting this. I should probably tell him that so Judah's not facing these consequences that should be mine. But I'm not going to do it because I don't want to face the consequences either. So I'm just going to sit back and let Judah take this one. Thanks, Judah. You're a real pal. But I think we can all agree on one thing today, that doing the right thing is sometimes very hard. Sometimes choosing the right thing to do means to not choose the thing that we do want to do, the thing that's exciting or fun or the most popular. Honestly, I think one of the main reasons that we don't like to do the right thing all the time is because doing the right thing often costs us something. See, if I had done the right thing and admitted to my brothers that I was the one who took that egg, I was the one that was going to face the consequences for stealing that. And you know the right thing to do is to be honest with your parents and your coaches and your teachers, but if you are, you're going to get in trouble for what you did. Or doing the right thing will have consequences and punishments, and that's definitely not something that you want. You know the right thing to do is to babysit for your siblings when your parents ask, but you honestly just don't feel like dealing with them. They're crazy, and doing the right thing here is going to cost you some freedom in your life to do maybe the things that you wanted to do. You know the right thing is to not to say yes to the guy who asked you out when you know you're not allowed to have a boyfriend. And doing the right thing here is going to cost you the relationship, and that feels like too high of a cost. You know the right thing to do is to be honest about how you feel in a friendship, but if you do that, you might end up in a fight or a fallout with a friend, and the conflict is a cost you don't want to pay. The list could go on, and the reality is we've all been in situations where we've had to choose if we're going to do the right thing. And sometimes doing the right thing feels really easy. It's an obvious choice. You know exactly what to do, and then other times doing the right thing is really complicated and hard. And when we start to count the cost of doing the right thing, suddenly the choice isn't so clear. And sometimes it's difficult to know the right thing to do as well. So here's the question. What can we do today, right now, to help us be prepared to do the right thing no matter what? How can we make decisions today that will have a positive impact on the bigger picture of our lives? Well, I want to take a closer look at the life of one of the most famous figures in the Bible, Joseph. As we look at Joseph's life, we have the privilege of seeing his big picture. We know exactly what happened at the start and what his life is going to look like at the end. But Joseph didn't. When he was going through all of these things, he didn't have the luxury of seeing that big picture and could only handle what was in front of him in the moment. And see, he started out as a guy in conflict with his brothers, wound up thrown in an empty well, and sold into slavery. It's not the happiest story ever. But God had big plans for Joseph. There was a bigger picture that Joseph couldn't yet see, a picture that was actually pretty incredible. So incredible, in fact, that we're still talking about his story here today, thousands of years later. And thankfully, we get a front row seat to all of it because another famous historical figure in the Bible named Moses decided to write down the stories of his ancestors and their lives. One of his written records is called Genesis, and it's a part of the Old Testament in the Bible. In that book, Moses wrote the story of Joseph's life in great detail. And one of the things he wrote about gives us an idea of how to do the right thing when the right thing is hard to do. So we're going to pick up Joseph's story right after he was sold as a slave to a group of traders. Joseph was eventually bought by a pretty powerful Egyptian named Potiphar. This guy was a big shot in the government and was the captain of the Pharaoh's guard. After some time working for Potiphar, Joseph was put in charge of Potiphar's entire house and everything that Potiphar owned. So even though Joseph was in a bad situation and was a slave, things seemed to be turning around for him, right? Well, this is where the story starts to take a turn. Just look at what happens next. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Okay, can we talk about how bad this really is? Joseph was this good-looking guy and who was working hard for his boss, Potiphar, and then suddenly Potiphar's wife took notice. And just like that, she invited him to do something that was meant just for Potiphar and his wife, not for his wife and Joseph. And I think we all know that that's not a good thing. Now let's put this in our own present-day context for a second. This is like your best friend, their boyfriend or their girlfriend, texting you to ask you to hang out on the side. Sure, they might be cute, but they're with your friend, not you. So having them ask you to sneak around and hang out like that, that's not good. It's not a great situation for you to be in, right? It's an invitation to do something you know is not right. And the same was true for Joseph. See, there was a lot at stake here for him. He could have easily given in to the temptation of Potiphar's wife presented him. He could have let the invitation go to his head. He could have even considered what he could have gotten away with and decided maybe he should give it a shot. But all of that, all of those little choices that ultimately could have led to him to have an affair with Potiphar's wife, well, they would cost Joseph something. And Joseph was trying to do the right thing, so he decided to take a different route. Let's take a look. But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has trusted to my care. So no one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even to be with her. Instead of giving in to Potiphar's wife, Joseph decided to do what was right. Not just one time, but over and over and over again. Every time Potiphar's wife came to Joseph with the same invitation, Joseph made the choice to do the right thing. Now, you'd think that because Joseph made the choice to do the right thing, everything worked out, right? This right choice was so obvious and clear that you'd think it wouldn't cost Joseph much. You'd think that it would all work out great because he did the right thing. But believe it or not, doing the right thing eventually wound up costing Joseph his freedom. You see, sometime later, Potiphar's wife came to Joseph again with her inappropriate invitation. And this time, she actually grabbed his cloak to try and get him to stay. But Joseph so wanted to get away from her and refused that he shook off his cloak and ran away from her. And now, because Potiphar's wife obviously did a lot of sketchy things, she told everyone that Joseph had actually pursued her, not the other way around. And she said that when she screamed for help, that Joseph ran away and left his cloak behind. And of course, Potiphar was not happy when he heard this story. So he threw Joseph in prison. This is definitely not the happy ending you'd expect for someone who chose to do the right thing. You see, sometimes doing the right thing will get you applause and approval, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes doing the right thing will come at a cost that seems completely unfair. That's what happened with Joseph. But Joseph did the right thing because he had integrity. And doing the right thing, regardless of the cost, is the definition of integrity. Joseph couldn't see the bigger picture. He didn't know that choosing the right thing would get him thrown into prison. And even when he was in prison, Joseph didn't know that God was still working on his behalf, still in creating that incredible big picture for his life. But Joseph didn't need to know, because he was operating with integrity. Joseph knew that choosing the right thing was the best decision no matter what happened next. And here's what I want you to know too. And this is what I think we can remember from Joseph's story. When you can't see the bigger picture, do the next right thing. In the moments Joseph was faced with a choice, he didn't know the bigger picture. He couldn't see it yet, but he still chose to do the next right thing. He chose to hold on to his integrity. So how can we do the same? When we're struggling to do the next right thing or to make the next right choice, what can we do to help us uphold our own integrity? Well, first off, you can see your situation. What situation are you in where you need to do the next right thing? Maybe it's in a relationship that's starting to push your boundaries. And maybe it's in a conversation you've been avoiding with your parents. Maybe it's a friendship that needs to change. Whatever it is, think about what situation you're in where you need to take a step in the right direction. See the situation where you need help in making the right choice. Then identify the next right thing. Do you need to confess something to a parent? Do you need to ask a friend for help with something? Do you need to apologize to someone in your life? Do you need to not go to that party that you were invited to? Or do you need to have a tough conversation with a boyfriend or a girlfriend? In your situation, what's the next right thing? Now, here's the deal. It's easy to sit here and think about the next right thing that we need to do. And it's even easier to forget it when the time comes to follow through and do that right thing. So there's one final thing I want you to do. Is tell someone the next right thing you're trying to do. Talk to a leader, a trusted friend, or maybe even someone at home about the step that you're trying to take. Invite them to ask you this week if you actually did it. Let them help you take a step forward in the right thing right now. Because taking these steps today is something that will shape our lives for the better tomorrow. Remember, you don't have to see the big picture in order to make the right choice. Instead, day by day, when you're faced with all sorts of decisions and choices, you can choose to do the next right one. When you can't see the bigger picture, do the next right thing. Let's pray. Papa, I thank you so much for your word. I thank you for the story about Joseph that so easily shows us a little piece of wisdom that we can translate to our lives today. I ask that you help us to see the next right thing. God, I ask that you give us discernment and wisdom to know when we're in a situation that we probably shouldn't be in, and give us the courage to take that step forward even when it's hard and even when we know there's going to be consequences afterwards. In your precious name, amen. Well, hey guys, thank you again so much for joining us again this week for rStudents Online, and I'll see you again next week here on YouTube.